Okay, on today's episode of Always a Bet on the House, I'm going to talk about an idea that sparked from the book Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. And this book is about how irrationality and not using logic needs to enter into your frame sometimes as far as how you approach the world. And one of the examples he gives is from evolutionary biology. And he's discussing whereas in a beehive, bees, the way they communicate is with something called the waggle dance. And they dance in a way that says, here's where some honey is, here's where some resources are, here's where some pollen is, rather, that is useful for feeding the hive and helping them do what they need to do. But 20% of the bees in the hive don't always follow the directions from the waggle dance. They don't always go to where they have been communicated and told this is where the resources are. 20% ignore that. They ignore those directives and go off into random other places. And effectively, those are what he calls the research and development arm of the bees. This smaller portion of them does not go where they're told, and in fact goes and explores new territories, new pastures. And what's interesting about this is it says that, listen, you should do what you're told within reason, and that we need people to march in lockstep in larger organizations, and just as an individual, the number of strategies we take to move ourselves forward. But we should also have a piece of what we do using no logic, using something that seems irrational, something that doesn't show the promise of return and is not going to the standardized, regularized presumptions about where we're going to get benefits and where we're going to achieve something. And that whether it comes to our investment strategy, and specifically the lens I always look through is one of entrepreneurship. And the strategies we do to move our ideas and our companies forward, we need to try things that there may not be a precedent for. We might need to go places where it's not going to work. And that is, again, one of that's just a way of looking at risk. But I think about it in my own life sometimes as someone who, there was a time when I was really, really obsessed with efficiency. And so much so that the order in which I would wash myself in the shower of okay, when I shampoo my hair versus when I scrub my underarms versus when I wash my back, I would do this to try to maximize the speed and time with which I could get it done, just so I could move on to more productive things. And I realized that, the only way you can get some improvements and enhancements around a process like this sometimes is trying something weirder, is washing a different body part that you wouldn't have thought of. So again, a lot of weird connections here between the order in which we wash ourselves in the shower to how bees communicate where pollen is, where resources are, but nonetheless something interesting to think about. And the larger takeaway here is that if bees have 20 million years of existence and they still bake some irrationality into their strategy, their approach to surviving in the world, we should too. So I would encourage you to, on your own journey, think about how do you embed some irrationality, some experimentation, some things that might not work and may become fruitless. You may not come back with the results, but is worth doing for its own sake, because when you do, it might occasionally make a bigger outcome. Why do we do this? Well, remember, those bees, sometimes when they go where there's no resources, they find nothing. But sometimes they find new pastures where there's lots of opportunity. And sometimes the existing places that are known to have resources, those wells run dry. Those flower beds decompose, and they're no longer providing value to the bees. Because you had the R&D team, because the Explorer team was going around and finding new things, that can get communicated back to the hive and on the whole increase its survivability. So anyway, this is a great book, Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. I recommend it strongly. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.